Hi. Today I'm going to read a sermon by a man named John Joachim Zubli. He was born Hans Joachim Zubli in Switzerland. And in the 1740s or 1750s, he came to the South. He was a pastor of a church near Charleston. And then he became pastor of a church, a Presbyterian church in Savannah, Georgia. And on July 4th, 1775, he gave this sermon. And after that, he was then, of course, July 4th didn't have its significance yet. After that, he was sent as a delegate to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. And he came there, he said, with two views: one, to secure the rights of America; second, a reconciliation with Great Britain. And ultimately, even though he'd been a staunch defender of American rights, he became alarmed by the course things were taking, and ultimately became a loyalist. And in Georgia, the Council of Safety in July of 1776, July 1st, it says, ordered his arrest, but he was able to escape. Anyway, just a sign of the complicated feelings conscientious people felt about the revolution. But I'm going to read his sermon. I'll skip the beginning, which is, no, I won't skip the beginning. Okay. It is addressed to the Earl of Dartmouth. This is, I'll actually even give the title page: The Law of Liberty, a sermon on American affairs, preached at the opening of the Provincial Congress of Georgia, addressed to the Right Honorable the Earl of Dartmouth, with an appendix giving a concise account of the struggles of Switzerland to recover their liberty. And it is spelled there like Switzerland, which of course he might know something about, being from St. Gallen in Switzerland. By John Zubli, Doctor of Divinity. Here's the scripture: Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Isaiah 11:13. Philadelphia printed and London reprinted for J. Allman opposite Burlington House in Piccadilly. And that was in 1775. To the Right Honorable William Earl of Dartmouth. My Lord, your Lordship's appointment to be Secretary of State for the American Department by numbers that respected your Lordship's religious character was looked upon as a very providential and happy event. Your patronizing of religious undertakings confirmed the general opinion, and we were happy in the expectations of your Lordship's conscientious regard to justice and equity, as well as to the civil and religious liberties of this great continent. We expected the cause of liberty and religion would meet with the strongest support under your administration, and in your Lordship would ever find a constant and successful advocate with your royal master. Unhappily, your administration measures have been pursued very contrary to American hopes, and we easily conceive your Lordship may think it not less strange that many friends of religion in America should be so uneasy under laws which had your Lordship's concurrence and approbation. It is to the man and to the Christian I wish to be permitted to address myself. Your Lordship ranks among the highest subjects, and has a large share in all public measures, but anxiety for what may distress, and zeal for the welfare of the empire, can be no crime, even in the meanest. And when a house is once in flames, Every man is inexcusable, or must at least be so in his own breast, that does not contribute whatever he may think in his power to their being extinguished. The effects of the present measures are visible, and it requires no sagacity to foresee what may be the consequence should they be continued. Your lordship may do much towards restoring the perpetuating the tranquillity of a great empire. Persons of my station have nothing to offer but hints and wishes. Should there be beneath your notice, should these be beneath your notice, or stand in need of forgiveness, my sincere wish to contribute anything towards a just, happy, and perpetual connection between a parent state and an infant country, growing apace to the most astonishing importance, must be my only apology. Pulchrem est bene facere, republicae sed et bene dicere. I'm not sure how to pronounce Italian. Latin. Non est absurdum. The question, my lord, which now agitates Great Britain and America, and in which your lordship has taken such an active part, is whether the Parliament of Great Britain has a right to lay taxes on the Americans who are not and cannot there be represented, and whether the Parliament has a right to bind the Americans in all cases whatsoever. Whatever may be said, or whatever the good people in Great Britain may believe, this is the whole subject of the dispute. All the severities hitherto exercised upon the Americans professedly have no other view than to enforce such a dependence, and nothing less than a claim destructive of all natural and national liberty could possibly have united all America in a general opposition, or have aroused them to join all like one man in their common defense. Let a declaratory bill be passed, that any law and usage to the contrary notwithstanding, America is entitled to all the common rights of mankind, and all the blessings of the British Constitution, that the sword shall never be drawn to abridge, but to confirm her birthright, and the storm instantly becomes a calm, and every American thinks himself happy to contribute to the necessities, defense, and glory of Great Britain to the utmost of his strength and power. To bind them in all cases whatsoever, my lord, the Americans look upon this as the language. To bind them in all cases whatsoever, my lord, the Americans look upon this as the language of despotism in its utmost perfection. What can, say they, an emperor of Morocco pretend more of his slaves than to bind them in all cases whatsoever? Were it meant to make the Americans hewers of wood and drawers of water, were it meant to oblige them to make bricks without straw, were it meant to deprive them of the enjoyment of their religion, and to establish a hierarchy over them, similar to that of the Church of Rome in Canada, it would, say they, be no more than a natural consequence of the right of binding them, unseen, unheard, unrepresented, in all cases whatsoever. My lord, the Americans are no idiots, and they appear determined not to be slaves. Oppression will make wise men mad, but oppressors in the end frequently find that they were not wise men. There may be resources, even in despair, sufficient to render any set of men strong enough not to be bound in all cases whatsoever. Grievous is the thought, my lord, that a nobleman of your lordship's character should be so zealous to make war, and to imbrue his hands in the blood of millions of your fellow subjects and fellow Christians. Pray, my lord, is it possible that those who at 3,000 miles distance can be bound in all cases may be said to have any liberty at all? Is it nothing in your lordship's eye to deprive so considerable a part of the globe of the privilege of breathing a free air, or to subjugate numbers and generations to slavery and despotism? Can your lordship think on these things without horror, or hope they must be productive of anything but detestation and disappointment? Your lordship believes a supreme ruler of the earth, and that the small and great must stand before him at last. Would your lordship be willing at the general meeting of all mankind to take a place among those who destroyed or enslaved empires, or risk your future state on the merit of having, at the expense of British blood and treasure, taken away the property, the life, and liberty of the largest part of the British Empire? Can your lordship think those that fear the Lord will not cry to him against their oppressors, and will not the Father of mankind hear the cries of the oppressed? Or would you be willing that their cries and tears should rise against you as a forward instrument of their oppression? I know, my lord, that this is not courtly language, but your lordship is a professor of religion, and of the pure, gentle, benevolent religion of Jesus Christ. The groans of a people pushed on a precipice and driven on the very brink of despair will prove forcible, till it can be proved that any power in whose legislation the Americans have no part may at pleasure bind them in all cases whatsoever, till it can be proved that such a claim does not constitute the very essence of slavery and despotism, till it can be proved that the Americans, whom in this view I can no longer call Britons, may and of right ought to be thus bound. Abhorrence of such assertions is only the language of truth, which in the end will force its way and rise superior to all the arts of falsehood and all the powers of oppression. I think I'll end there. That's more of a political statement, though it's called a sermon.